Aha!
Aha, what?
We're back.
Okay.
I didn't know. Let's see. Make sure. Just make sure. Watch, it won't give me the screen again this time. There it is. Hey, look at that. Hey, everybody. We made it. Small personnel difficulty, but otherwise we're back. So today is the 27th day of January, 2021. And we're back in the studio here. What's happening?
Okay, good deal. As usual, the usual announcements. Bitcoin is plummeting still, apparently, 30,007, so... Well, I know, but now, once again, a week and a half ago, if you'd sold, you had 22 crew grands. Now it's down to whatever it is, 16.
It's all about the volatility, man. That's the game.
Well, you talk about volatility. I've been following another item of volatility.
You know my GameStop?
GameStop.
Did you see it today?
Yeah, 348.
Yeah, no, it went up to 380 at one point.
It went up. Did it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, 2 weeks ago you could have bought it for $20.
That's right. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. I mean,
19 times your money.
Yeah. But you know, this is one of those things. It's what they call the short squeeze or whatever. You know, who knows? Because apparently a couple of big hedge funds got in on it.
Yeah.
And they have like unlimited resources.
Well, I mean that's the squeeze. They're trying to ruffle some feathers there. But.
Right. Well, I remember years ago I did this.
Oh yeah.
And this was back when I had money. And this is like 15 years ago or something, I guess. And when Netscape.
Right.
Netscape was, at $60 or something. I said, my God, there's no way it's worth this. This is crazy. So I shorted it. It went to almost $180. I was like so in the hole. I mean, I was $50,000 in the hole.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, as per, it finally plummeted down to about 30, and I bailed out. But boy, I'll tell you, talk about, every day that went by, you figured you're losing your ass.
Well, I thought it was hilarious. There's a couple of videos on Twitter or YouTube today from Friday. And the people talking about the squeeze on Friday.
Yeah.
And of course today it's 3 times as high.
I was just blown away. It started off this morning, I think, at 145.
Yeah.
When the market opened, it went to 350.
Kablamo.
By the time I printed this out.
I saw a Twitter post. Somebody was like, "What's going on with GameStop?" And one of the responses was, "Don't know. Shut up. Just buy some."
God Almighty. Anyway, speaking of Bitcoin and all this other stuff, Janet Yellin has come.
Yes, this is the big news.
This is the sort of big news on this. She decided she's going to sign some way to limit the use of cryptocurrency.
Oh, really? Oh,
yes.
I didn't see that.
Yeah. Janet Yellin will consider limiting the use, and this is during her testimony.
Will consider or did sign a...
No, apparently she said during her confirmation hearing.
Okay.
She said that the blockchain financial networks are of, and this is what she says is all about particular concern.
We're particularly concerned about this. We're prepared to make moves.
Yeah. So anyway,
to alleviate our concern.
Well, of course, they said it's all about terrorists and other criminals.
Right.
That's all they care about. It's the
money laundering.
Dark web.
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
Okay. Under the new rules, cryptocurrency-based exchanges. Now, the exchanges, these guys that you can do your credit card with or something like that and buy.
Well, the exchanges are the ones you can actually trade the cryptos on.
Cryptos on, right?
Yeah,
that's right. And so what they want to do is to find a way to regulate the exchanges.
Well, sure.
So that every time you sign up or whatever. Now, the question I have is, do the exchanges? Do they all know who you are exactly?
Yeah.
Okay, they do. Now the other thing, though,
some of them have lots of layers of security.
Yeah, I guess they do. So anyway, that's what they're thinking. Obviously, if it gets out of hand, they're going to try and regulate, like as they regulate the banks. The banks. I mean, if you go to the bank, okay.
Yeah.
I mean that's a currency exchange in the bank.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so the way that you're saying it, it sounds like the banks are independent of the government. And of course, they're not right now. Right now, the way that this works is the banks are just arms of the government.
No, I understand that. But if they come in and start regulating these exchanges, that's going to be kind of the same thing.
Well, of course. Look,
okay.
Here's, you know as well as I do, they got a piggy bank. They can print as much as they want. They can spend as much as they want. Nobody can do anything about it. All they got to do is go right across here to the Fed from the Treasury, and now the Treasury Secretary is the former Fed chairman.
Right.
You don't think there's a close relationship between these two? I mean, they're practically, literally in bed together.
I mean, right? Just about.
Practically,
I mean,
literally.
They don't have. Do they have the same name? Is one the cousin of the other?
Yeah, I mean, it is that close. It is so incestuous. And so, look, they are not going to give up their cash cow for anything. They've realized they don't even have to tax anything anymore. Now you can just spend ad infinitum. Nobody cares. Nobody seems to step in. The Republicans aren't going to say anything. Trump went along with it. Trump spent like a drunken socialist on shore leave.
Yep.
And so who's going to stand in the way now? Susan Collins?
Yeah, right.
get the fuck out of here, you know? And so look, as soon as there is an inkling that the cryptocurrencies might impinge slightly on the functioning of the U.S. dollar, there's going to be a raid that's going to make Roger Stone's house look like busting in on a penny ante poker game.
Yeah, well, that's right. It's gonna look like a very calm thing where somebody walked up and said, "Hi there."
Yeah, we'd like to.
No.
Do you mind? Would you like to come outside and talk with us for a few minutes?
No, this will be a missile attack.
Seriously, that's what it'll be.
This will be drones.
It's going to be 7 square blocks of Texas exploded today in a fireball.
Yeah.
When
well, the two things that I wanted. Let me finish up here.
Sure.
It turns out that apparently they're also wanting to see if they can regulate, which is going to be a tough one. And this has to do with today, of course. They like to track cash transactions.
Right.
And technically, if you go, if you take a wad of cash and go spend it with some other willing person, there's no reporting there.
Well, you're when it's over a certain amount, you're supposed to make a note of it nowadays.
I know
They've
that.
got
You're
the
supposed
subcontractors
to.
up to down to $600 a year. If you hire a subcontractor and you pay them, you have to report that. $700 job. Yeah, I know, supposed to. Nobody's going to do it, but of course that makes tax cheats and felons out of everybody.
My point is that you still with Bitcoins, you can do a direct transfer into somebody else's account.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of.
I mean, that you don't have to go through the exchange. If you have a wallet with Bitcoins on your thing and somebody else, you can transfer directly to that person's wallet.
Yeah, the exchange is just for transferring between coins and between cash and coins, and
right.
So now and you can actually do I think cash and coins just between the wallets, so you don't even need the exchanges to get your cash out of it.
I don't know how you do that.
Well, the wallet is just like a link to the blockchain.
I know, but what's in there are Bitcoins.
Right.
No cash.
No, but your wallet's linked to your bank account.
Yeah, but see that they know that though.
Yeah.
So that's my point. I remember when I had mine, for instance, it was a big deal. When you had this was 10 years ago or whatever, when I actually had some Bitcoins. It was a nightmare to get back and forth from your bank and back.
Yeah.
But because you have to have the SWP, I had a bunch of numbers. Anyway, you can do it.
Yeah. These days it's click.
Right, I know that. But what I'm saying is if you did want to send somebody just the Bitcoin or piece of, you can do that with I don't know how they're ever going to find that. They want to try and regulate that, but I don't know how they're going to find out how to do it. I mean, it's that is the same thing as if I walk up to you on the street and hand you cash.
Right, exactly. There's no way.
There's no way. So anyway, they think they can do it, but so the question would be how many of those the problem is ultimately you have to get cash, and that's where the problem arises. I mean, ultimately you have to have a transfer either into cash, and that's when the transaction shows up. Yeah, and especially if it's more than $10,000 or something.
Yeah, exactly. There'll be a spot, a vertice they can regulate it somewhere, and
choke point.
And exactly, and they'll get in with both feet as soon as they feel threatened at all.
Yeah.
Now you know what else?
And it doesn't take much for them to feel threatened.
No.
This is the mouse scares the shit out of an elephant.
Oh, seriously. Yeah. This is like I said. As soon as they get an inkling, a whiff of an impingement. Exactly. Now you saw what else Yellin said this week, right?
No.
Yellin said that no, she doesn't foresee any financial crisis in our lifetimes.
Not in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Whoa. Well, she's pretty confident.
Well,
Can
yeah.
you imagine?
Well,
I mean, what is, this is part of her testimony.
we don't see any reason to believe there will be a financial crisis in our lifetime.
And what is so funny about this is whose life, she might be talking about my life.
Well, no, that's the joke under the Twitter comments were all, she obviously expects to die in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, right.
I mean, look, when the Fed chairman comes out and says no crisis on the horizon, I mean, if that isn't like a sell call, I mean, that's the panic button as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, no, can't even see a financial crisis. Really?
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, you think about it, since the Fed has been around, which is like 107 or 8 years, okay, we've had like 9 financial crises.
Oh, yeah. No,
And
I mean,
so,
the biggest boondoggle, I mean, just signed on December 23rd. I mean, Christmas Eve, December in 2013. I mean, you know, this was the horse and buggy. Oh, everybody's ridden home for the holiday already.
Yeah.
And Mr. President, would you please just sign this act and give us all the money?
Yeah.
And then the idiot did it. And we've been suffering ever since. Somebody was talking about the minimum wage, talking about, if it had just risen with inflation, it'd be this much more. Look, if they had just kept the dollar stable, at this point, how much more you would make, it would be incomparable.
Well, of course, what's interesting is, unfortunately, I don't want to get too far in the weeds here, but from after the Civil War until around there was two recessions, but until the Federal Reserve, the fact was that there was a deflation, and the fact is what money you made would buy more. But your wages, they kept wanting to cut your wages. So you were, you might have been taking home, I don't know, I'm taking a number here, $20 a week, let's say, and then you ended up taking home $15 a week, and you said, gee, I'm getting less money. However, if you turned around, it bought more groceries.
Right.
I mean, your living standard actually increased.
Right, and you know how the managers get around that if they just fire the person, hire somebody else for the $15 an hour.
They're right, exactly.
And then and so, but yeah, I mean. If they had just kept it stable, but what are you going to do? And so now we'll see.
The fact is that there's not an empire ever in the last 5,000 or 10,000 years that has ever kept anything stable because they get greedy.
Well,
and they have guns.
They're authorized. They're authorized.
Yeah, they're authorized.
And now you've got Biden here. He is about to sign a bill for $1.9 trillion that exceeds the entire cost of the entire federal government from 1980. And this is just the COVID bill.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the amount of money that they're tossing around here, we've got our corporate sister, as you know.
Yeah.
I'm going to get in trouble here.
Yeah.
Corporate sister is on board with corporate in the sense that they feel like Donald Trump was justified in spending $6 trillion to save COVID or whatever.
To save it. Well, to
save, not to save COVID, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so, to me though, the amount of money that amount of money is just easily 100 times what was necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember the original bill was $2 billion. It was 1,000th. It was $2 billion.
Was it 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was in January or February of last year, and then they went 2, 4, 6. Let's just go to trillions, and here we are, multi-trillions of dollars later, and nobody's even.
Well, see, here's the
peeping about it.
Here's the beauty of this. Here's the beauty. What you do is you've got this number here, and you said, "I'm going to add nothing."
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to add nothing.
I'm just going to change the units.
I'm just going no. I'm going to add nothing. I'm going to put a 0 on the end.
Well, there you go.
That's it. See, that's nothing.
See,
it's a 0.
You don't even have to do that. Like I say, you just change the units. It was 6,000, and instead of billions, we'll make it trillions.
Well, but that's the same as adding, 3 nothings.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. I added nothing 3 times.
3 times.
What do you want?
Yeah, that's right. Look, 0 times 0 is still 0. Hey.
This is just math,
No
okay?
problem. It's just
this
math.
is just
Yeah.
math.
Listen to me. Yeah.
God. And people don't get it.
No,
So
I know.
yeah, so and
Well, they're going to get it.
They're going to get it.
They're going to get it in the shorts.
They're going to get it, and I guess only thing I can think of is when the spike comes in something people normally buy, like houses or cars or
Toilet
food.
paper.
Well, I mean, but it'll have to be a general, like the whole category of food. All of a sudden,
Coca-Cola.
you're paying $10 for a Coca-Cola,
Yeah.
instead of $1.50.
Well,
or
it has to be
$2.
pretty fast because I certainly
Right.
remember. I mean, let me tell you, in my youth, a nickel bought you a
Right.
bottle, literally. No, and actually sometimes you had to pay. You could put a dime, I think, into the machine.
Yeah.
And then you went and got 2 cents back on the bottle.
Yeah, exactly. There was a guy with a bottle return dime machine at the pawn shop up until just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And it was still operating. He left it in there. It had been there for 40 years or something.
Jesus.
So, and he restocked it just for fun.
Yeah, I'll bet that's great.
But
So anyway, It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the cryptos when they start to get really panicky and everything.
yeah, well, and the question is, are we going to have, like we talked about before, Digix in Singapore corner the market on currency? People start using a 100% backed gold cryptocurrency, which is, in other words, it's just a promissory.
The only little minor problem with any of that stuff, of course, is what can you actually buy something with it?
Well, you go back, take it back to the vault in Singapore and get your gold back.
Okay, that's right. If it's backed by actually something.
And that's what the
Right.
Digix coin is, apparently 100% backed by gold. 100%, not even on the margin backed.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating.
See how long that lasts.
Well, I mean, to me, if they don't corner the market on currency pretty quick, I mean, I think in a few years, if that holds up, that they'll.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Let's move along
Yeah, yeah.
out of this. So anyway, what about the impeachment trial?
Amazing.
Now it says here, it's the headline that I got was they got the backing of only 5 Republicans in the Senate.
Okay.
It said they're going to go along with them. There was the
So
usual
they need 14 or
squishy
something,
ones.
16, yeah.
Republicans, and so they rejected the effort to sideline the impending impeachment trial. So what happened was they tried to come up with a vote that says, look, we're not going to do it. But 5 Republicans went and said, look, yeah, we want to hear this. We want to hear the evidence. We want to see the trial. So they're going to do it. Apparently, starting February 8th or something.
That's what they've said so far.
So far.
Now, Rand Paul says he's going to force a vote on the procedure.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, obviously, because this was a vote that was 55 to 45. We want to see in the Senate. We want to have the impeachment.
Okay.
And what I thought was interesting, that of course it's still short. You need 67 votes to
Right.
convict.
Yeah.
So if they don't have, if they have only 55,
Right.
that's not enough. And if they can see, looking out ahead, that they're not going to get it, then why would they do it?
Yeah.
Well, because I want to waste the time. I mean, what a waste! I mean, what a waste of time.
I agree. It's interesting that they would spend so much time on Trump as if he's still a threat to them. I mean, he can't even run for office now for a couple of years anyway. And
I mean, they would, now he would certainly still have his rallies, I suppose, kind of like, I mean, there's people that look at him like Jim Jones or something.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if they felt threatened enough to go through with it, but this is to me strange constitutional ground for several reasons. Did you notice that apparently the SCOTUS Chief Justice is not going to preside over the trial? They're
No.
going to get Patrick Leahy to do it.
What?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Uh-huh.
I thought, isn't it in the Constitution that the...
Yeah, but see, that's the whole thing. It's in the Constitution. It says when the president is being tried.
Yeah.
Well, the president isn't being tried anymore, apparently. And so they've said, well, okay, we're not using the Chief Justice. We're using Patrick Leahy as the presiding guy or something. So they just, I guess, picked one out. And you wonder, well, is that constitutional? Like you said, that doesn't seem... This whole thing, it's spiraling out of the Constitution in several different ways. I mean, forget about the whole fact that there won't be any... As you may already know, it's not like any prosecutor is going to indict Trump for incitement, because there are not grounds for that charge to hold up in any court of law. you couldn't prove that.
Well, the Senate is hardly a court of law.
I know, but that's what I'm getting at is that they're prosecuting things out of their heads. You know, it's like, well, what we saw was an attempt to take over the United States. You know?
And we also saw them riding out here on unicorns.
Well, I mean, it's almost that bad. You know, it's like. Yeah, you got to ask yourself. I mean, it's at what point is an attempt not an attempt? You know, if I go make a voodoo doll and I stick a pin in it, is that attempted murder?
Boy, yeah.
No, it's not.
I'm sorry.
Right,
No,
exactly.
that's what I meant.
And this is the kind of thing that, you know, the insurrection was. I mean, nobody will say that they had greater than 1 in a million chance of actually conquering the United States, right? I mean.
Yeah.
Is there anybody who would say they had a better chance than 1 in a million? I don't think so. If there was zero chance, okay, effectively zero chance, how can you charge that? You can't, okay, and no prosecutor would charge it. But the Senate or the House will do it, and they already did, obviously, and on the phone call as well. And so we'll see, like you said, if they only get 55 people to agree to jurisdiction for the Senate,
right.
How are you going to get 67 people to convict?
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Except all the evidence will come in.
Well, they're not going to do any evidence, apparently, they've said.
Okay.
They don't need evidence. Remember, this is not...
Yeah, we don't need no evidence.
Well, you remember, this is not like any regular court law where, you know, because all the jurors are predisposed, all their predispositions are all taken into account and everything. You can, you know, if as far as they're concerned, Trump is a Nazi, even though he allowed himself to get voted out of office. So
yeah,
they're gonna do whatever they can do. You know, AOC's thinking she was under, you know, assassination attempt.
Right.
You know, a bunch of assassins without weapons. You know, they were really good assassins. I guess they were gonna tickle her to death or something. Right. Yeah. You know, zip ties was their weapon of choice.
That's it.
And nobody, I guess, got close or drew up plans. I guess it was all in their heads or whatever it is. We'll see how far they take the whole thing, the prosecution of everybody.
Well, we only have 2 weeks to find out. I mean, we're going to find out on the 8th, I guess.
Well, we'll find out on the Trump thing, you know.
Yeah,
and
right.
so, like I said before, the biggest thing, obviously, Biden should just pardon him and get it over with. And but apparently,
he so far said, you know, I'm not going to step in this or something like that. I don't know.
Stupid not to.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Domestic. Now, the other thing that's nice, as a result, of course, of January 6th. You know, this is January 6th. Is now 9/11 and January 6th.
I've been waiting for somebody to brand it.
1/6.
Well, yeah, or something. It, like, you know,
1/6.
Arnold tried. He said this was our crystal knocked. You know.
Yeah, but see, yeah, okay.
Except that they burned hundreds of churches and killed a whole bunch of people on Crystal Night.
Same thing.
Yes, yeah, same thing. You know, but like you said,
I've been trying to think of the. I mean, 9/11 has kind of a ring to it.
Yeah. Well,
but 1/6 now.
No, that's nothing.
Because then you morph that into 1/6.
Yeah, you know,
it's not going to matter.
Jan something.
Yeah, Jan 6.
Jan mob, Jan coup, or something. Or,
Jan coup. Yeah.
I don't know. I've been waiting for somebody clever to come up.
If somebody will write us a little note and come up with their little thing, that'd be good to find out. Because we've got to find out what that is. Anyway, as a result of the of the insurrection, of the murderous crowd, armed to the teeth with
powerful words,
and with wrist ties or whatever it is, they've decided they have introduced a bill. In Congress called the Domestic Terrorism Prevention Act of 2021. This is it. This is going to prevent this sort of thing from ever happening again.
Yeah, not so much.
The irony of this title, of course, the title of the bill is that it's not about preventing terrorism. It's about legalizing terrorism by the state against the citizenry. This is what they've done. This is an extension of the quote Patriot Act, where there's all kinds of things that you do if you go and you wave a flag and you stand up and do it. This is terrorism.
Well, all right. So I checked it out.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
And
Hey.
And it's not that bad.
It isn't. Okay,
no,
good.
It's not. Now, the Patriot Act was this horrifying imposition of all kinds of allowances that allowed them to spy on you 6 different ways from Sunday, and it's hundreds of pages.
And stop you any place.
I believe. Yeah, I mean, that's show your papers, please, and we'll track you no matter what without a warrant and everything.
Yeah.
This bill is like 17 pages long.
Okay.
This really, all it does, from what I can tell, is it creates a new domestic police agency.
We need another one.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, we got the FBI. I mean, this to me...
We have 17 intelligence agencies.
Right. At least that.
At least.
Those are the ones we know about.
Right, yeah.
And then the non-secret ones. And then, like you said, look, this is literally the FBI's job, is domestic terrorism.
Right.
I mean, that's what they do. So why do we need another agency? You got Department of Homeland Security. Well, exactly. And this almost seems to be kind of one of those, well, we've got some extra money because we just printed it here.
Yeah.
And, clearly the FBI and the Capitol Police and Homeland Security and Secret Service, and none of them stopped the insurrection until they did. But
It took them a couple of hours.
it took them hours. There were hours where people were fleeing for their lives. And so I don't know what else it does. I mean, except for that, it basically reads just like the creation of a police office. It doesn't specify any extra powers or any imposition of rights or anything. It talks vaguely and cross-references a couple of other statutes, and it didn't go cross-reference those statutes, but it doesn't seem to me to be a real power grab and any big thing. Now, we'll see what they do with it. Again, this comes down to what's in your head.
Yeah.
If they look across, this is going to come one of two ways. Either they're going to look across the aisle, they're going to see white supremacy everywhere, and they're going to be bagging Tucker Carlson and Scott Adams and Ben Shapiro, and for incitement of violence or whatever, and it'll be this huge witch hunt. Or they're going to roll in there with 6 hillbillies. We found them. Here,
Right.
Here they are, the white supremacists. We dragged them down from their hills in West Virginia somewhere.
Ooh,
and personally, I'm a little insulted. I mean, I'm about the whitest white guy that there is, and I haven't been invited to a single white supremacist meeting ever.
Either have I.
I mean, nothing, man. I mean, we're getting dissed here.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Doesn't seem quite fair.
No, I mean, I don't. It's just, what's the big deal here? What did we do? So. Mason, nothing. I got nothing here, so.
Well, we'll find out. I guess it'll be, because it is, the white supremacy thing is apparently, I think I might even have another story here about that, where it's just gone off the deep
Well,
end.
it's crazy, but I came up with a test, if you want to know.
Okay.
Yeah, if you think, here's your test. If you want to know if you can see things like a TDS person or a prosecutor or whatever, here's the test. The first, here, answer these things. Did you hear win bigly? Or win big league.
Okay, yeah.
And that's the first part. Did you hear bleach, or did you hear disinfectant light?
Okay.
Right.
Uh-huh.
I mean, did you hear fine people, or did you hear totally disavowed?
Huh? Oh yeah, right.
Right. I mean, and did you was it a coup, or did you hear peaceful? Did you hear protest peacefully?
Okay.
I mean, what's the here?
Okay.
Or even a mob,
Yeah.
But again, voodoo doll is not attempted murder, so.
Okay. You didn't really? I
No.
thought, I'm thinking, what? When you got to think about
They really tried.
Yeah, well, think what's in the mind of that person.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because
But see,
you took a doll out and you stabbed it.
that's it.
Going straight.
and
Don't even collect $200.
Exactly. And it used to be that way for a while. It was that way. And then they instituted the concept that you had to have an act. You had to have some kind of an act which had some possibility of completing the crime. You can't, if you take a flag out to the middle of your backyard and you go, I claim the United States, and you stick down the flag, that's not insurrection. It's you're trying.
Even with my own flag.
That's what I'm saying. But no. So, but we'll see how far
Biden now has decided to place environmental justice as the center of a sweeping climate plan.
Yeah.
This is his new thing, and of course, what's interesting about this is let's all in this together.
Mm-hmm.
It's specifically aimed at minorities, other people that, let's see, it's a top priority and an unprecedented push to cut the nation's greenhouse gas emissions. But Biden will direct agencies across the federal government to invest, quote unquote, invest, mind you, in low income minority that have traditionally borne the brunt of pollution. According to the White House, he will sign an executive order establishing White House Interagency Council on Environmental Justice. Of course, this was, you're asking environmental, and create a Office of Health and Climate Equity at the Health and Human Services, and form a separate Environmental Justice Office at the Justice Department, at the Justice Department. The order also directs the government to spend 40% of its sustainable investments on disadvantaged communities. So now they're going to single out disadvantages in, of course, the communities, and it's an effort to improve conditions. Now, this is one of the things they want to improve conditions at the Black, Latino, and Native American communities targeted for hazards that other people did not want, such as power plants, landfills, trash incinerators, shipping ports, uranium mines, and factories. These are all things that were put in on Indian lands or in disadvantaged places,
right.
And we're not going to do that anymore.
Poor neighborhoods.
Look, you got your gated community.
Beverly Hills, you're getting the dump.
Yeah, that's it. You're getting a uranium processing plant.
That's right.
And but I thought that it was interesting that in this uniting thing, he's decided to single out.
Yeah, divide us up by race and institutionalize the racism.
That's right, institutionalize it. And of course, it's an investment. Now, one of the things you got to be worried about is in 1967 or whenever it was, Johnson signed the War on Poverty.
Yeah.
Okay, we've had like 40 years of war on poverty.
We won,
yeah. Mm-hmm. I've always said if you want to improve the education system in America, you'd have a war on education.
Yeah.
And then that would backfire and do the opposite. So anyway, that's what this. I mean, you look at this and you're thinking, oh, God, this is such a mealy mouth. You just wonder and of course I wonder what environmental justice is.
Well, that's the mealy mouth word, like you said. That's the nebulous word that can mean whatever they want it to mean. And look, in their defense, look, what they do is they look around the country and they see the like you said, the super toxic dump things, and they notice, they're all in poor lands. And what they notice is that they're all in minority owned areas, and they infer that that's because of some kind of racism, but it's not. It's because of what I said to begin with, which is it's because of the money. It's because those people are poorer. That's why. And you put those things in poor places because that's where you put them. I mean, that's where they go, economically speaking, from the economy. It sucks. That's why it sucks to be poor. I mean, that's why you're fighting to not be poor, to get out of that shitty neighborhood and get into someplace that's better.
Well, but here in the United States, I don't think that's true at all. I mean, I notice.
Look, it's not like they're trying to make it out to be, which is like you've got, here's Beverly Hills, and then down the hill, all the sludge just runs down the hill, and then everybody is. Yeah,
except when your Beverly Hills house gets wiped off the map. No, what I'm saying is, though, if you notice, especially around here in the United States, every place they look, as far as plastic is concerned, they see a turtle with a straw up its nose. I mean, but when you look at what we do with landfills here, spent locally, our landfills are really quite clean. I mean, they're amazingly clean.
Yeah,
you can drive down the major highway here, and you see this hill.
Yeah,
it's been built up. It's all covered with grass and everything. But that was a landfill.
Yeah, I used to live right next to one that was on a lake. And this guy at the end of the road would test the lake all the time, and he did all this research on the landfill. He told me all about it, triple layered, all this super high tech landfill, no contamination. The lake was right next to the landfill.
Yeah.
So they can do it now.
We do have, as far as the environment is concerned, of course, one thing we do have is the runoff from fertilizers into our creeks and streams and so forth, which is apparently but that's something else as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to go there. I think that what they're talking about here is to say the power plants and trash incinerators, uranium mines and so forth is what they're talking about.
Well, we'll see what they come up with for solutions, but I mean, the best solutions are just simply
they're going to invest, though.
And of course the best solutions are just economic freedom for the people in the areas.
Biden. His next thing is he's lit. Now I don't know. If, I'm just going to brush on this and go by.
Sure.
I don't want to get into it, but he's lifted the ban on transgender people serving in the military.
Okay.
Okay, fine. You know, I'm not sure.
Knock yourself out.
Yeah, knock yourself out. So I'm moving along to something that I had in mind earlier.
Mm-hmm.
At Baltimore Washington International Airport, they've embraced LiDAR to enforce social distancing. What they do is, as you walk through the place now, they've got little sensors that see how far you are from somebody else, and there's like a little beepy alert. You know how you drive down the highway now, it says how fast you're going? Well, apparently they've got somehow now that they've got the LiDAR is light detection and ranging, informing travelers at one security checkpoint whether they're social distancing. So you know, you're coming through. You got your passport out. You're ready. You have your carry-on or carry-off bag or whatever it is, and the little thing comes up and says you need to stand further away from.
Well, you saw the multiple mask controversy this week, right?
God, I saw that.
It's funny because I was going to use that as a response if I ever got confronted about my mask thing.
I went in yesterday in preparation for my operation later this week.
Uh-huh.
And there was a nurse practitioner that came in, and she was wearing 2 masks.
Mm-hmm. Just 2?
Just 2. Well, no, and the face shield.
Uh-huh.
My mask literally, and I'm sitting, from her, she's asking me, slipped off my nose. And she says, could you pull your mask back there, please? I'm going like, yeah, okay. I mean, but, and now you will be pleased to know that right after that, they swabbed me. Uh-huh. And I got a little note today that said, you have no COVID. Uh-huh. So I think that's good for 7 days or something.
Yeah, well.
So we'll see. And I'll tell you this much. You can say what you want about that little stick it up your nose thing. I thought they'd hit my brain. I was sneezing and choking all over the place. They really nailed they really put it up there. And if you think I want to go through that again, you're crazy.
Man.
So anyway, safe, healthy travel remains our priority, says the BWI, which is the Baltimore Washington International Executive. So we want to protect our passengers and employees, and it provides real-time data flow on passengers so we can manage their operation. So they're one of the first to embrace this LiDAR. Our software solution helps BWI, Marshall Airport, whatever, improve your passengers' travel experience.
Yeah,
This is what the thing is. You got a little beep, 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 mm-hmm. step back, but we're improving.
That's right. It's for your own safety.
Okay.
I swear, man, I will be so happy when the adults take back over, and people start making individual decisions.
There's ramping up, COVID 2, COVID 3.
No, I know it doesn't. We're the pendulum is still swinging into the collective control area, but we'll see.
New mutant strain. They have one. They have one from South Africa. One from England, from the UK, and now they went from South Africa. Mm-hmm. They've decided. I guess we said, as we talked about the other day, New Zealand found 1 case, and they're panicked. And when you realize that New Zealand is like 3 major islands plus a whole lot more, and I don't know, maybe they're going to lock down the whole place. I don't know. I
mean, California is up to their pretty much highest death rates.
Yeah.
500 a day.
Yeah.
And now they're unlocking. A lot of people suspect it's just because Biden's president now, and they can't think of anything else to do, and so why not at least save the economy maybe a little bit.
Let's see. I had here that I don't need to talk about that.
In terms of the executive orders, you saw. There's people a little bit riled up. Some of my libertarian friends that Biden has signed 27 executive orders at this point.
I think it's at least that, yeah.
But
there's supposed to be a whole bunch more today, I think. But go ahead.
Okay. But I haven't seen anything too alarming. Every president expands presidential power a little bit.
A lot of these are repealing of old executives.
Right. See, and what they normally do is it'll repeal the last guy's thing, and then it'll take the guy before that's thing one step further.
Yeah. Okay.
And it'll just be a little bit more power for the executives. But the legislature doesn't seem concerned about it, and the courts, you know, they haven't stood up to anybody in decades. So
if they're, you know, when you realize that the confiscation of gold was an executive order.
Yeah,
in 1930, that was like the day after. Back in those days, the President Roosevelt wasn't January 20th. It was March 3rd or 5th or something, March 10th or something, was when you actually had the inauguration. You know, your lame duck was like 3 months instead of 2 months like it is now. But right after they swore him in, that's when he signed the gold confiscation executive order. Yeah. The day, as far as I'm concerned, that's the day that she'll live.
Totally is.
And so, if anybody wanted to revoke an executive order, that's the one I'd do.
Yeah. I mean,
except you can own gold now, but but it would be awfully nice if they could mint the stuff.
Well, I mean, free coinage would be the way to go.
Now, as another thing that's interesting, these are some things that have no bearing on anything that's important in life. I'm going to tell you about it anyway.
So sign off now.
Sign off now. That's right. This is it. This is getting into the human interest stuff. The Chesapeake Bay, where I grew up, Chesapeake Bay, the oyster prices have collapsed because people are not eating out any. So now apparently what happened is that they've literally dropped by 50%, a bushel of oysters, and of course this is really prime season because, you know, this is a month with an R.
Okay.
And so you get the big fat ones up there now. Suddenly instead of I don't know, $5 a dozen, it's $2 a dozen or something, if you want them, if you can find them. I mean, because of course the oyster people are saying, the oystermen are realizing it's not worth it to go out and collect them. And so the prices it's kind of self-fulfilling. Now that you're not going to go collect them, then the prices. So I thought it was interesting. It started like 2 months ago, and the bottom, as this one guy, oysterman, said, the bottom just fell out of the market. You know, you get a bushel, and where you walked into the restaurant chef or whatever on in September, and then you walked in October, they said no. So that's kind of bad, I think. The one nice thing, I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure that after you harvest oysters, if you had a bushel of them, I think you can take and dump them back in the water and they're still alive.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, they keep them in the water to keep them alive.
Yeah, they keep.
Now, you know, I did see a report this week that said that the damage from the lockdowns is going to be 4 times worse than the damage from the financial crisis of 2008-9.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. So
well, they thought they had bailed out 2008 or what for $900 billion. They picked that number because it wasn't a trill. Yeah, well, it was a really big number. That's why they picked it. But and then of course that was just the first one. They did $1 trillion stimulus after $1 trillion stimulus after that. And of course, Trump ripped the knob off of it. But it's got to end somewhere. I mean, it just does. And like, you know, either Zimbabwe or, you know, we're heading towards Zimbabwe. Or,
at least Argentina or something. I mean, at least you would think you would see some really, at some point, there's going to have to be some kind of...
Well, the one good thing, though, is, which is kind of interesting, this is the year, I remember, here's a story that made something to me. I remember when I was a paper boy, and this was in, sometime in the 40s, late 40s.
Okay.
Yeah, not the 1840s, the 1940s, I think it was, or maybe right around, I'd have to do the math to get back to it, whether it's 1950 or 49 or something, or 51, when I was a paper boy. And I remember when the cicadas came out. This is up in Washington, D.C., and I mean jillions of them. And at that time, they were the 17-year. And sure enough, every 17 years, well, this is the year. This is the 17th.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah. And so they're waiting. And what they said is that when the weather just starts to warm up a little bit, you understand that this bug lives underground for 17 years and then pops out. And of course the birds all
that's a survival.
are waddling around like this because they're eating all the stuff. I mean, they can't even get off the ground. As I just thought this was interesting, there are billions of them. The precise time emerges depends on the weather, but locals in their range know that when they do, the first thing the cicada nymphs do when they're out of the ground is to scale the closest vertical surface, whether it's a tree, screen door, or your leg, and after molting into their adult form, they start to make this sound in order to, and they flying around everywhere, and it's just, God, it's just like this, and they're perfectly harmless. I mean, there's nothing to it. They're going to die off pretty quick.
Yeah, no, that's those little husks from their.
Yeah,
they're little perfect to run and stick up on a girl's sweater.
Oh yeah, no, it's really.
They grab on there.
They grab on, yeah, the little husks. But I mean, there's going to be just jillions of them, and it's going to be. Boy, I'll tell you, the first graders are going to have the first grade boys are going to have a lot of fun with that. So, assuming that they're school, and but I just thought this is the year. I might just have to trot on up there and see and bring back, because if they said that the sound is up, when it really gets going, is 100 decibels. Now I got news flash for you. That's loud.
Yeah.
That's like almost gunshot.
Yeah.
So, now the other thing is, we're talking a little bit about who's going to do what. You saw where Twitter has suspended permanently Lindell or Lydell, whatever it is, from
the
Mike Lindell
guy, yeah.
My Pillow guy, because he's still on the but this is one of these things that you think, who doesn't know this? I mean, nobody believes any of this shit.
Which shit?
Well, I mean, he's still saying that it was stolen this and stolen that.
Right.
I mean, he's a real Trumper. I mean, he's a real Trumper.
Fine, you're allowed to. Look,
I
they
understand
held
that.
on for 4 years with Russia collusion.
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying to bury it. It's so funny. You had Stephanopoulos up there the other day, and he's trying to get
Rand Paul
right
to admit something,
to say that the election wasn't stolen. Now, just think about it for 1 second. You realize that he's trying to get him to prove a negative.
Yeah, right.
You can't do that. You can't. You literally can't prove. And so, whatever Stephanopoulos thinks is proved, it's not proven.
No.
Okay, you may not know of any corruption, but that doesn't prove it.
Yeah, no, that doesn't prove there was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or wasn't.
Or wasn't. Yeah, that doesn't prove there wasn't.
And so, but that's what they're calling it. The big lie. The party of science is trying to force everybody to accept this negative proof. Which, look, as I've said from the beginning, everybody was going to accept whatever happened on January 21st, and they have.
And they have, absolutely.
So you had a few. I don't know how many people actually got into the Capitol. I mean, I would imagine dozens, but
it might have been hundreds. I don't know, but a lot of them were invited in. But of course, there were a couple.
We played the video of the cops letting them. I mean, this was not not like the burning of the police station.
The one cop they showed him standing there while somebody went up on the podium.
Yeah, the horn guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a gun. Look, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
They're all dead. If it's an insurrection. But no, that didn't happen. So
why? If you listen to the hyperbole, if you want to call it that, of how this was an armed, with Molotov cocktails, bombs, and everything.
Yeah, that's the funniest thing. Is that they didn't have nothing. No Molotov cocktails. They didn't even have good sticks. The best sticks they had were flagpoles.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's like, come on, yo.
We're taking over the go. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I thought that anyway. This is another guy. This guy. You think about this. Why would Twitter suspend this guy when? Whatever he was doing was, you just sit there, you either believe it or you don't. I mean, I know that, for instance, I have a couple of lefty podcasts that I listen to. Mm-hmm. One of them's called, which I hate to give him a prop here, it's been on forever. It's called The Best of the Left. Mm-hmm. The guy's someplace out of Washington, D.C., I think. And what he does is he goes and collects clip pieces from the lefty guys, Chris Hayes, and
right.
Democracy Now, and those guys that are all really lefty, and then he comments on and plays all those things, and but those guys aren't being banned from anything, and because you listen to it and you think this is this is great. Michael Moore, for God's sakes, Michael Moore now has like 2 or 3 million people that listen to his podcast, and he's off the wall.
It's like we said before. They're just figuring out the new medium here, and they'll figure it out before too long. And there is a very simple solution. It's super easy. You're an adult. You put an adult in charge. You have them look at the tweet and they ask themselves, is this dangerous? And if the adult says yes, then you take it down. And if they don't, then you leave it up. And that's it. And it's totally subjective. Yes, it's totally. And you can't have you can't say, look, you can say whatever kind of guidelines you want, but they're going to be nebulous. It's going to say something like, we will take down tweets we consider to be harmful. That's all you have to do. And then the public, the market will determine whether or not you've been fair about it.
Well, of course, this is why some people are, needless to say, and we'll see how this backfires, but when Amazon takes down the entire Parler thing,
right,
for instance, it's one thing that somebody that if you're in Parler and you take down a person,
right,
but to take down an entire venue, well,
and like you said, we will see very soon in the next few months whether or not there's competition to Twitter and Facebook. And people talk about, or you can't have competition to look. TikTok wasn't even a thing 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Did not exist.
Right.
And now they're some major mover in the social media market.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen again. Apparently Snapchat has just produced its TikTok ripoff.
Yes,
Spotlight or something. That's right. You sent me the thing there.
Yeah.
So we'll get on that and see.
Yeah, good.
And but the point is that the market will figure it out. You don't have to worry about the private players. They can come up with whatever guidelines they want, whether they're stupid or not. They're going to eventually default to having an adult make the decision because that's what you do.
Yeah. Budweiser joins Coke, Pepsi brands in sitting out the Super Bowl.
Really?
Yeah. Well, this one of the things that we always look for in the Super Bowl were the ads.
Yeah. I mean, Budweiser ad in particular with the.
Yes. Well, they did. It says here for the first time since 1983, Anheuser-Busch has used all of its ad time to introduce back then they introduced a beer called Bud Light in '83. The whole thing was all about Bud Light.
Mm-hmm.
Bud Light.
Yeah.
But they're not going to advertise this year in the Super Bowl. Instead, it's donating the money that it would have spent on the ad for coronavirus vaccination awareness efforts. They're still going to have ads, and the ads are like $5 million or something like that this year. I mean, I remember when they were $500,000.
So it's going to be an ad that says "Wear your mask" and then Budweiser.
I don't know about that, but apparently they're cutting back on the product ads.
Right.
So I don't know after that. Attendance at the game, can you imagine the Super Bowl, okay?
Yeah.
Talk about a ticket that's going to be worth something.
Yeah.
Super Bowl game would be limited to 22,000 people. This is down here in Tampa.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Down here in Tampa.
Boy, they're going to be $100,000 a piece.
Boy, I'll tell you, it's something I guess. But it's cut into sales for many. The pricey ads estimated $5.5 million for 30 seconds during the February 7th broadcast on CBS. So some people have decided maybe it's not worth it. Let's see, it says it wouldn't advertise this year because it's investing in the right resources. So anyway, some of the people are taking their ads, their ad money, and spending it elsewhere on coronavirus awareness.
Look, corporate advertising has been a thing for decades. You always try to make your corporation.
Mad Men.
Exactly. They figured it out way back then. And look,
They sure did.
You know what? Instead of doing advertisement, let's just donate a bunch of money to charity and put in an announcement that that's what we did.
Okay. You think that's not an ad?
Exactly.
you think that's not an ad? I mean, you know what I think about it. When I think about here locally, we still have every year. Of course, this year I don't know what I think they had it this year because in March of every year out here we have the Rotary Wild Game Feast.
Yeah.
It's put on by the 4 or 5 clubs here in town, and it's out, and it's really great thing. It's a great thing, and it was this year. I think they might have had it this year.
So they let girls in.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they let girls in. March. It was March 3rd. It's the first Thursday in March. At any rate, so it'll be interesting to see if they have it this year.
Yeah.
Because there's still going to be probably masking and everything.
Yeah.
But the point is. It's one of the first things you do is you go out and you get advertisers for it, and you have a shirt
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, there's I don't know, half a dozen people here that give literally thousands of dollars, which for us is a lot, in order to support the Rotary Club. And of course, then the Rotary, they give it to some. But my point is, that's their advertising.
Yeah, you get advertising, you get to write it off. It's a good deal.
Yeah.
You know, so all right.
I'm done.
Okay, we're almost done. Let me just check here, see real quick. Did you notice that out in San Francisco, they have disqualified the names Washington and Lincoln for school names?
I saw where that was actually going. I didn't think it was only San Francisco.
Okay, well that's what I didn't see exactly where. That's what I saw for. But either way, canceling Washington and Jefferson.
Washington and Lincoln.
Oh yeah, Washington and Lincoln.
Okay, and the reason is,
I guess slave owner. I guess.
Well.
Yeah, and what? Maybe it was Jefferson. I wrote Lincoln,
okay.
But it would make
Lincoln
more sense if it was
not a
Jefferson.
slave owner. And
Yeah, well, they did tear that one statue down in Lincoln, but I would still think they would want to preserve that. But here's the thing: I thought about it. I got a perfect name: Trump High School.
Hey.
I mean, he wasn't a slave owner.
No. He was the president.
That's what I'm saying.
Put him on a coin.
That's high school name, man. Trump, Melania Trump High School, Ivanka and Jared High School.
But Trump, the beauty of Trump is we trump everybody.
That's it. Yes.
I mean, we trump the competition.
That's right.
God, this would be so great. And of course, what you do, what would your mascot be? Orange something.
Yeah.
Something is orange.
Maybe an orange.
It'd be the orange. We're orange
Orangeman.
and blue here.
That's right.
University.
Well, it's like the Syracuse Orangeman.
Yeah, the Orangeman, right.
And so that'd probably be it. Now, here's another thing. If you really wanted to troll Trump, what you would do is you'd assign the preschools Trump name.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah.
So, anyway, I was thinking. Now, if you're wondering the difference between how much money we spend per pupil in schools,
Okay.
Versus public and private, here's a list of all 50 states, and the average is 30% more.
For the public schools.
Yes.
Now, of course, but one of the things that we like to do is we call those the government-run schools.
I know. I'm with you there.
Yeah.
And the private ones I'm starting to call independent schools.
Right, independent and government-run. That's right.
And so, but anyway, here's the list. Now, this is from EFI. I have no idea who they are. They could be a total sham. This could be totally made up. But it purports to have all 50 states on here. And if you look, some of them, I mean, down here, Wisconsin, I think it is, 70% more they pay for their public school.
And they're underpaid teachers.
Yeah, well, that's the thing I keep thinking about. People keep talking about the teachers, need to get taken care of or whatever. You want to know what's going to take care of the teachers? The private sector. You teachers aren't going to make shit working for the government ever. You know why? Because you can't. There's a cap. But if there was a private sector, you would have some teachers who would be raking it in, right?
Well,
they would be like top professors at top schools.
Well, they do that, of course, already. So even in the government-run schools here, the top professors here, they get a lot of dough.
They make a lot, but they don't make the kind of money that they would make if the whole thing was private.
Well, maybe. Okay, that's another thing. But what I'm saying is that if there's such a disparity between, let's say, 70%, if you're a teacher, quote, a teacher, or if it's being spent in the government-run schools, how could they ever hire a teacher in the private schools? Why would there ever be any there? Well, there's another reason for it. I mean, the fact is that I don't know what they're paying, but here at Oak Hall, I mean, they got teachers there.
Yeah. Well, and of course the answer is administration.
Yes. No, I know the answer is.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I have a friend of mine who used to be who was he was the computer expert at our local school district here, the government-run school. And I said, the overhead has got to be. And he said, well, no, we've done our thing on it, and the overhead in our government-run school system is 5%. I said, nah, I don't believe
We
it.
checked ourselves.
Yeah, we checked ourselves.
Oops. All right. And that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry for the delay in getting started here. I fell asleep. Unfortunately, I had already pulled out all the
You're supposed to make something spectacular. You were abducted by aliens.
aliens,
for Christ's
right?
sake.
And here I am. And yeah, that's right. Well, before the next show, I will have gone under the knife.
Ooh.
And
So
they're
it'll
gonna-
just be Counselor Curtis in the next show.
Well, yeah, that's right. Let's see if they're going to kill me. But at least I have no virus, no COVID for me.
That's nice. Good to know. Thanks, Kevin McLeod, for these tracks. We really appreciate it. Sure, our Bitcoin thing here down here, though, I haven't been able to verify that it's actually working yet, so gotta figure that out. Anyway, we will see you again on the 31st of January. Thanks for joining us.